Hello again, everyone. We're down in the basement shop and want to show you a couple of future TV restores we're going to be doing. These are both Admiral sets, and for this video we'll just be looking over the cabinets, looking at the condition of those, the knobs, and then we'll be checking the picture tubes on both. So let's get started. First we'll look at this Admiral 1952 model. The chassis is a 21Z1, and Admiral touted these back in the day as a TV with a radio. And in fact it does have an AM radio. That was one of their big selling points in their advertisements. I did find an ad for these sets. I'll try to post that in the video here to show you how they were making a big deal out of having a TV with an AM radio built in. This is a 17-inch set. It does have a plastic cabinet. It does need good cleaning and polishing, but I don't see any cracks in the cabinet, so that's a good thing. A set this large. Knobs, original knobs are still there. Do have a little defect here in the AM plastic dial cover. I'm not sure if I can do anything with that or not. We'll polish it or see what we can come up with to make that look a little better. The SAMs on this set, the SAMs Photofact, is a 177 folder 2, and I haven't been able to find one of them even online at a reasonable price. So the Early Television Foundation does have this schematic here, and this is a reprint of the factory schematic. It's all we have, no parts list or anything like that. It does have voltages listed on the tubes. I think you can see that. So hopefully we can get the set restored by just using this. If not, we may have to get a SAMs with more information to complete the restore. Now we'll flip it around, check the picture tube, and see what we have to work with there. And here's a good example of how the base on the tubes can be loose. In fact, this one, if you look at the side, it's even broken right there. So you want to be real careful pulling the socket off. I'm using my thumb to hold on to the base. And there we go. So hopefully that tube's still okay, but we do have a broken base there on the side. And if we look up the 17 BP4, again we're using a universal adapter. We want the CRT type on video. The filaments are on each side of that key, so this is 1, that would be 2 on around, and that's 12 right there. So let me hook it up and then I'll go over the connections with you. Okay. Here's our tube, 17 BP4. 1 and 12 are the filaments. Of course, there's 6.3 volt. Bias is 36 volts. Cathode is pin 11. G1, pin 2. And G2 is pin 10. This is pin 1, which is a filament. Pin 2. This is pin 12, 11, and 10. So we'll turn the filament all the way down. Let's see what we get. 6.3. And we got a good healthy glow, so that's a good sign. And just a reminder on the universal adapter, F1 is 1, F2 is 2, cathode's 3, G1's 4, G2 is 5. That's the settings on these 5 switches here. We're on black and white / scope, and we're on video for the CRT type. Alright, no heater cathode shorts, no G1 shorts. See if we get any cutoff. Not much. Moving just a little. Maybe it'll wake up. We'll give it a few minutes, because this tube probably hasn't been lit up in 60 years, who knows. So we'll give it a little time, and we'll see if anything happens then. Right now our cutoff, it just barely moves. And our emission's pretty bad. But let's let it warm up. Alright, it's been about 5 minutes. And our emission is right in between bad and good. So that should show a picture. And it's still climbing. It's up in kind of in the green there now. These tubes, when they set a while, they got to wake up, and that's what this one's doing. So that should present a good enough picture we can use this tube. All right, let's take a closer look at the back of this 17-inch set. There's the chassis numbers 21Z1A. Run 26, so that's one of the last versions of this chassis. And I've noticed here we have a phonograph. This goes to the motor, and that's the phonograph input. When I first looked at this set, I thought, well, that's a homemade back. But I'm beginning to wonder now, because these holes look like they're stamped or drilled pretty precisely. I don't think someone has drilled those. Now, it could be the back off of another set, but the screw hole seems to line up here, the one that's missing. So probably we're just missing a little CRT cover here on the back, I would say. And the other Admiral that we're going to be restoring is this 19A15. This is basically just a wood cabinet version of all the little 7-inch Admiral sets from the late 40s. We do have a full SAM schematic on it that we've printed out. This comes from the Early Television Foundation website. So we've got typical SAM's info, voltage, resistance, tube layouts, cap layouts, resistors, parts list, whatever we're going to need. The cabinet on this one's a little rough on top. Been dinged around, but it's to be expected in a set this old. The good thing about this set, the original knobs are still there. And that's the original grill cloth. It is tore over here. Hopefully it's big enough that we can pull it this way to cover up that tear. If not, we'll have to try to find something that looks close to that for new grill cloth. This is a little 7-inch electrostatic set, like the Motorola Emerson, a lot of them back in the day. So let's check the picture tube and see what we have to work with there. Always remember, see, I've already taken this socket, pulled this off of the base of the tube, but be really careful when you take these off, because if the base of that tube happens to be a little loose, you could rip it off and possibly break some wires going to it. So I use a screwdriver, just prise in between the base and the socket till you get it loose. But we have the universal adapter hooked up. And on the 7JP4, here's the settings. Of course, 1 and 14 are the filaments. We're 6.3 volts. The bias is at -68. And we want to gun select on black and white scope. And then pin 2, cathode. Pin 3 is G1. Pin 9 is G2. Alright, we're on -68. I think we're ready to power up. Filament's on 6 volt. And always turn the filament all the way down when you first turn it on. And as you can see, we only have about 3 volts there going to the tube. And as we run this filament setting on up, put it on to 6.3. And I do see a glow coming out of the neck of the tube. So at least we have filaments. No heater cathode shorts. No G1 shorts. Cut off. That seems to be setting, so it's a good sign. You want to cut off in the little black box, preferably in the center, but as close as you can get to the center as possible. And emission, we're checking really good on this tube. Now let me do a life test. And it dropped very little. What the life test does, that just reduces the filament voltage. And if you've got a bad tube, that emission will go down rather quickly. But we seem to have good emission even on the life test. So I think we have a good tube here. One thing to remember on these 7JP4s, I've tested them before. They'll check good. You hook it up to a working chassis, picture may be washed out, not look good at all. Then I've tested them that test questionable with emission and hook them up to a chassis, and they show a good picture. So it's kind of hit or miss on checking them with the tester, but at least we know we have filaments, we know we have emission, so that's something to start with. And looking at the back of the little 7-inch set, the back is missing, but we can make one of those pretty simply. It's not much to it. It's pretty much a rectangular shape. I think this back initially stopped right here, so it was above the controls. So that's what we'll do when we make a back for it. Here's a 7-inch Admiral with the bottom exposed. And there's our model number, 19A15-S. So I hope you've enjoyed this look at the two Admiral TVs that we're planning on doing a restore on. So be looking for those videos coming up. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Well, we hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, how about giving us a like and subscribing to our channel? Thanks.